this episode of Firepower, rocket into the supersonic age with the delta-wing designs of the French Air Force. From thin air, create the Mirage with aviation pioneer Marcel Dassault. Push the stealth envelope with the experimental Rafale. And launch laser-guided missiles from the F-1. Forge a French revolution with the power of the pyramid on Mirage Jet.
For nearly 4 decades, the jet fighter designs of Dassault Breguet Aviation have been synonymous with French combat aircraft. The name Dassault was a new one in the late 1940s, but one with strong historical roots in the history of French aviation. France had been pair of large caliber 30mm autocannons. First entering service in 1955, the last Mystère 4A was not retired until 1982, after nearly 30 years of service and a credit to the robust construction of the aircraft. In 1958, the Mystère 4 evolved into the Super Mystère B2, a more refined design capable of speeds up to Mach 1.3.
Je crois que tous les avions ont une
I think
histoire.
that each aircraft has its own special story. And in the Mirage case, the particular event was the Six-Day War in Israel. It made this aircraft extremely popular around the world, and it made it the symbol of a maneuverable, high-performance aircraft. Also, it became the symbol of French technology.
Performant, et puis c'était un symbole de la technologie française.
The classic shape of the Mirage 3 helped serve as the basis for a much larger delta-wing combat aircraft, the Mirage 4 bomber. Though similar in shape, the Mirage The Mirage 3 had been designed primarily as an interceptor. By the 1970s, most air forces desired a multifunction aircraft, able to dogfight enemy aircraft, as well as to attack ground targets with equal ease. The ground attack strike mission demanded greater range and endurance than the Mirage 3's interceptor role. The new Mirage F1 offered double the range in the ground attack role and a substantial increase in maneuverability. The Mirage F1 entered service with the French Air Force in 1973. It is a true multi-role aircraft, capable of carrying out strike missions with bombs and guided missiles or engaging in dogfights. Its standard air-to-air armament is the Super 530 missile or the Magic heat-seeking missile. The Mirage F1 can also be adapted to the naval strike mission, armed with the famous Exocet anti-ship missile. The Mirage F1 has formed the backbone of the French Air Force's tactical air arm. Mirage 2000 and its improved versions will satisfy French needs until the late 1990s. But efforts are already underway to produce a new generation of fighter aircraft, the stealthy Rafale. Rafale began in the early 1980s as a technology demonstrator program. The Rafale A testbed aircraft examined the flight envelope possible with new fly-by-wire controls. Two other key requirements were also desired: supercruise and stealth. Conventional jet fighters get their high speeds by igniting the afterburners of their jet engines. This provides tremendous power, but at the expense of very high fuel consumption. the use of afterburners inevitably means reducing the combat range of the aircraft. New jet engines promise to offer superior power and supersonic flight, even without the use of afterburners. This is called supercruise.
L'évolution du Rafale, c'est bien sûr une évolution.
The evolution of the Rafale, of course, is an evolution in performance. It's an aircraft much like those being developed for the United States Air Force, able to reach supersonic speeds without using its afterburners. Rafale managed to do that on its first flight. These aircraft are becoming much more discreet. Many stealth features have been incorporated on the Rafale while still retaining its great maneuverability. Aircraft handling has not been compromised by stealthiness because of the improvements which have been made possible by systems integration. These days, it's becoming very difficult when sitting inside the aircraft to separate what is being done by the flight controls from what is being done by the electronic sensors and from what is being done by the power plant to control the flight path, even in the case of employing the weapons.
In 1991, the first development aircraft of the Rafale program, called the Rafale C, made its maiden flight. The Rafale, though sharing the classic delta wing design of the Mirage family, has a very sleek, blended body. The body design was selected to reduce the radar signature of the Rafale and so approach invisibility to enemy radars. The Rafale is not intended to be entirely invisible to radar. Full stealth features demanded body shapes that would adversely affect the maneuverability and performance of the aircraft in the fighter role. Rather, a compromise has been reached to incorporate as many stealth features as possible without compromising performance. When it finally reaches production in the latter half of the 1990s, the Rafale will be manufactured both for the French Air Force and French Navy. The Rafale is intended to replace over 7 types of aircraft currently in the French inventory. It is intended as a true multi-mission aircraft, able to carry out fighter missions as well as ground and sea strike missions. Even with a change of name, the Rafale continues the tradition of aerodynamic excellence of the Mirage Jet. For a fighter test pilot, the way an aircraft handles is determined in part by the method in which the fighter is controlled. In traditional aircraft, when the pilot moved the control stick in the cockpit, the control surfaces such as the rudder, stabilizer, and ailerons move directly in response to his commands. In recent generations of aircraft, new innovations have been made in flight controls to assist the pilot in flying the aircraft.
I
think that the Dassault aircraft have kept pace with the evolution of aircraft from the other manufacturers around the world. We have gone from the first post-World War II aircraft, which were barely supersonic, all the way to supersonic aircraft requiring powerful onboard computers and superior performance. In this area, flight controls, Dassault has been ahead of its time. This has always been one of the strong trends in the Dassault company, the know-how to create flight controls which were especially suited to the aerodynamic characteristics of its aircraft.
In France, fly-by-wire was introduced on the Mirage 2000. Fly-by-wire has had a critical effect in giving the modern fighter plane greater maneuverability. In fighter plane design, maneuverability has always been a much sought-after commodity. Maneuverability can be critical in a dogfight, not only for getting onto an opponent's tail, but also evading an enemy aircraft. In aircraft design, maneuverability and stability are opposing requirements. A very stable aircraft is often not a very maneuverable aircraft. With traditional flight control systems, especially mechanical systems, an aircraft had to be designed with inherent stability. Otherwise, it would have been uncontrollable in flight. With the advent of advanced electronics, aircraft designers were able to satisfy both the demands for stable handling in most flight regimes with increased maneuverability when desired. A new concept arose called CCV, for Control Configured Vehicle. The new aircraft were inherently unstable to increase their potential for maneuverability. But to make them controllable by the pilot, the electronic flight control system's computers monitored every movement of the aircraft and every control of the pilot. The computer operated the flight controls even without the pilot's attention to make certain that the aircraft remained on its intended course and did not lose control. Fly-by-wire allowed Dassault to return to the classic Delta design in the new Mirage 2000 fighter. The new flight controls could compensate for any shortcomings in the classic Delta wing shape. Superficially, the Mirage 2000 resembles its ancestor, the Mirage 3, more than its immediate predecessor, the Mirage F1. But in fact, its role is closer to the F1. The Mirage 2000 was designed from the outset as a multi-role aircraft, capable both in the air-to-air dogfighting arena and in the ground attack strike fighter role. Two distinct families of Mirage 2000s have been built. The Mirage 2000C and its latest evolution, the Mirage 2005, are primarily intended for the fighter role. To provide long-range, deep strike capability with modern guided munitions, a two-seat version has been developed, the Mirage 2000N, and its recent evolution, the 2000D. The second seat in the strike fighter version is occupied by a weapons officer who manages the attack radar and weapons systems. The capabilities of different Mirage 2000 variants is determined by their avionics, the electronic systems aboard the aircraft. The new Mirage 2000D is a good case in point. It incorporates a new avionics and fire control system, which makes it exceptionally well suited to the strike role. Guided munitions are a key ingredient in the success of modern strike aircraft. The Mirage 2000 strike fighters are equipped with a variety of different strike weapons. French aircraft during the Gulf War used the laser-guided AS-30L missile. This could be guided with such precision that it could be aimed at the doors of hardened Iraqi aircraft shelters, with devastating results. In older generations of fighters, radars could only track opposing aircraft which were at the same altitude or above. Radar had a hard time tracking enemy aircraft which were flying near the ground. The enemy aircraft got lost in the ground clutter. But advances in radar now permit contemporary fighters like the Mirage 2005 to locate and attack enemy aircraft flying below them, called look-down, shoot-down capability.
Look-down capability is very important. First of all, a large portion of the threat consists of air vehicles flying close to the ground, whether unmanned cruise missiles or piloted aircraft. So the mission of the fighter plane as it's employed these days expects that aircraft will be able to patrol as long as possible at altitudes where they do not burn up a lot of fuel, and be able to intercept aircraft at all altitudes, including low altitudes. So it's very important that the aircraft be capable not only of identifying aircraft underneath them near the ground, but also of guiding missiles towards these targets. This wasn't the case with missiles that were deployed on the Mirage 3 generation.
The combat capabilities of the Mirage jets were demonstrated during Operation Desert Storm, codenamed Operation Darguet by French forces. Ground attack missions were performed by a squadron of Jaguars and a squadron of Mirage F-1s. Mirage 2000s of the 5th Fighter Squadron operated out of Al-Assar Air Base on combat air patrol missions to prevent Iraqi air attacks into Saudi Arabia.
Tuesday nights on the Discovery Channel, join our guided tour of one of the world's great museums. We'll examine the past and see history in the making on Smithsonian Treasures. Doors open at 8:30 Eastern.